So in today's video, we are going to be discussing Kyler Murray being a distraction to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, before we get into the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's jump right into the video. So it's been a pretty noisy offseason with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. It's a situation that we thought had kind of died out and thought we were going to move on from, but it's a situation that recently just got a little bit more intriguing, to say the least, heading into the draft, because things may be figured out heading into the draft, and then things might be figured out maybe as the offseason rolls along and as we get closer to the season starting. But if we look at Kyler Murray this offseason, he first started by removing all references of the Arizona Cardinals on Instagram, and that's when the rumblings and the rumors and the talk kind of started with Kyler Murray, because usually when players do that, that usually means they're trying to do a leverage play. They're trying to show that they want to get paid. They shun basically the team on social media. I find it to be one of the most petty things you can do. I don't know if that's really the best way to go about it. I don't think putting stuff out there on public, for the public to see, is really the best way to do it. It's not really something that I think is really that clever, really that good of an idea, especially when, in my opinion, Kyler Murray doesn't necessarily have that much leverage right now. It's just not a good look, because then you have the Cardinals social media team being clever themselves. They fire right back, and then they have two posts of their own, both just of Kyler Murray. So in a way, it's symbolic that the Cardinals are kind of just trolling him back, but they also in a way are like, well, dude, we want you as our quarterback. It's just we're not going to pay you right now. It's just, to me, that's just what it feels like. It's kind of just a petty off, and I thought that was kind of weird. And then there were reports around the same time that Kyler Murray was kind of immature and kind of self-centered. He kind of pulled himself from that playoff game against the Rams. So again, not really that. Even if Kyler Murray was deserving to get paid, all of his antics is kind of showing signs of immaturity, and that he may not be ready to get paid that big numbers. The Cardinals would probably love to see him mature a little bit more. And again, talent-wise, we'll get into that here in a little bit. He's got to improve a little bit talent-wise, at least late in seasons. But then this is when we thought the situation was honestly going to go away, because then 2 weeks after he removes the references to the Arizona Cardinals on social media, he releases a statement basically saying that he's ready to get back to work, continue to grow. And honestly, at that point, we kind of thought the situation would die out and it wasn't going to be a huge thing anymore. But then a few weeks after that, Kyler Murray's agent releases that long essay statement that honestly not a lot of people read. And when a statement comes out that large, it's like, all right, this is just getting ridiculous. We're not going to read that. Basically saying that the Cardinals need to pay him now. And it kind of felt like one of those statements where Kyler Murray and his camp were kind of blaming everybody else but Kyler Murray. They were praising Kyler Murray for what he's done for the Cardinals, which he's done a lot. Like, there's no denying that. But it also just comes off as a little bit aggressive and not a really good look, if you ask me, because while Kyler Murray has done a lot, they kind of failed to mention in those statements like what Kyler Murray has done late in seasons, and what he did in that wild card game against the Rams wasn't particularly a good game played by Kyler Murray. He was really bad in that game, and again, it's a statement that didn't really seem necessary. So after that, we really didn't hear anything else. That was again a moment where we thought the situation was going to die out. We thought the situation was done. But then there was a report by Tom Pelissero of NFL Network saying that Kyler Murray may not play next season without a new contract. And this is when Kyler Murray, in my opinion, just completely lost me when it comes to him and his contract and him not willing to play with the Arizona Cardinals. He's due $5.5 million this year, which is not something just to gloss over. That's a lot of money. I get it. He's on a rookie contract still. And if you ask me, he hasn't really done enough to earn that big extension yet. But $5.5 million, that's not anything to gloss over. That's still a huge amount of money, for anybody. And I know in, terms of professional athletes, it may not seem like a lot of money, but he's still getting paid a lot of money. I wish, sometimes I wish athletes would understand that a little bit. I'm not jealous of the money they make. I just wish at some points they would understand what they're making, and that, they come off as a little bit greedy and a little bit of, I don't want to say D-bags, because that could be kind of harsh, but that's what it kind of comes off as, is like you're getting paid a lot more money than any average, citizen in the United States and in the world. And to, come off as a little bit needy like that, it's not really a good look. And a lot of fans, that's kind of the huge disconnect between Murray and the fans. But then his agent apparently pulled the offer that he offered the Cardinals, during, this whole situation. And again, that's that part, reading that part to me, I don't know if I'm looking too far into this, but that part seems really laughable because I'm just like, the Cardinals weren't going to extend him. They weren't going to pay him anyways. They really weren't ready to extend Kyler Murray. To rescind your offer, it's like the Cardinals are probably just laughing at you. It's like, okay, you can pull any offer that you want. We weren't going to pay Kyler Murray yet anyways. And it's not, saying that Kyler Murray isn't warranted to be on the Arizona Cardinals, or the Cardinals, that he's good for the Cardinals. He's great for the Cardinals. I think it would be a huge mistake after next season, which that's an important note that we'll get to. But if the Cardinals don't pay him after next season, okay, then maybe we can have an argument that, hey, the Cardinals are messing up. But it depends on how Kyler Murray plays, because if he has a bad season next year, that's when the 5th-year option comes into play, and then the Cardinals will pick up his 5th-year option. Then he'll have to kind of prove himself, and if the Cardinals are still on the fence, then they can franchise tag him twice. And so Kyler Murray may not get that extension for at least 4 or 5 more years. So again, these contract situations, it's not just black and white. There's a whole bunch of shades of gray that are going on with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. But again, the contract extension for me personally with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, it doesn't hold much weight in Kyler Murray's camp, because I think Kyler Murray has done an incredible job for the Arizona Cardinals. He's kind of made them relevant. I still think the Cardinals, they don't really get talked about a lot, but when they do get talked about, that we're at least praising the quarterback play, and that, they have a legitimately good quarterback in Kyler Murray. I'm not going to deny his talent. He's great. He's a really good quarterback. And again, it's going to be a mistake for the Cardinals, because what they did with Josh Rosen, they literally drafted Kyler Murray the very next season. That just shows that the Cardinals, they were still searching for that quarterback, and they found him. But when it comes to Kyler Murray and his camp, I don't think he's necessarily looking at the whole picture, because while it is valuable what he's done for the Cardinals, making them relevant, helping them get wins, they go from a 3-win team, just a few years ago to an 11-win team, and he's made some Pro Bowls. He's still part of the reason why they collapsed late in seasons the last couple of years. In 2020, they started off hot, and we're like, okay, the Cardinals, they're a legitimate team. They started 6-3. They finished that season 8-8, and they didn't even make the playoffs that season. And then you look at last year, they started off hot again that year. They started off 10-2, finished the season 11-6, and they had that disastrous playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams. And Kyler Murray, again, was a huge part of that, and a huge part of why the Cardinals season ended the way it did. I want Kyler Murray to get paid eventually. He's deserving of getting paid. But if you just look at the whole situation surrounding it, the way that Kyler Murray and his agent are just handling themselves, and usually you can tell by, maybe a team is a little bit, they're willing to work with it. I think the Cardinals are willing to extend Kyler Murray at some point. But the statements that his agents are making, they just don't make sense. They're long, pointless statements. We know what Kyler Murray's accolades are. It's the on-field play, blaming everybody else, really, what it feels like, rather than Kyler Murray's on-field play when he was, particularly bad, especially in the playoff game. Because, accolades matter, but results also matter. And the results are the Arizona Cardinals, they had a good season, but they weren't able to do anything with that. And they had a disastrous loss to the Los Angeles Rams in that playoff game. And if Kyler Murray did want to get paid, like I said, he still has 2 years left on his contract. And it's not like Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes obviously sat his first season, but his first full year starting, he won the league MVP, and then he won a Super Bowl in his second year. And then the Chiefs went after him to extend Patrick Mahomes. If the Cardinals were ready to extend Kyler Murray, I think they would have done that. They would have reached out to him. That's usually what teams do. Because with him still having 2 years left on his contract, that 5th-year option as well, I think that kind of shows that, hey, the Cardinals aren't ready to buy into a huge, massive deal yet, because they still feel like Kyler Murray, as great as he's been for them, he still has things that he has to prove. Because the Chiefs, they went after Mahomes. The Bills, they went after Josh Allen. The Rams at the time, they went after Jared Goff. Teams will come after you and give you the contracts. Usually, with a few years left remaining on his contract, his rookie deal, I don't really think it's a particularly good look for Kyler Murray right now. But those are just some of my thoughts when it comes to Kyler Murray in the Arizona Cardinals. Give me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.